All right, let's change the pace. It's time for business. Yuka Roy joins me in the studio. Hello to you, Yuka.
Hi, Rochelle.
Ireland is going to the polls on Saturday, as we've been saying it throughout the programme. The country is facing a housing crisis, which is a very big issue indeed.
A very big issue indeed in these Saturday's election. Now, Ireland has made a rather spectacular comeback after an economic crash in 2008, but it's now facing a severe housing shortage as a result of austerity measures back then. With rents soaring at double-digit rates, the country is facing an unprecedented homelessness crisis, along with other domestic problems. This could cost Prime Minister Leo Varadkar the election. James Wilson has more.
On the surface, the Irish economy has much to recommend it. Last year, it grew by 6.3%, the highest figure in the EU, and unemployment is at a low 4.8%. Despite this, many people are unhappy with the government, and the poll suggests voters will likely toss them out on election day. Chief among their concerns, the huge rise in homelessness and the cost of housing since the recession.
So there's a large number of families who have never experienced homelessness before, who say, I can't believe that this has happened to me. Nobody in their family and their network has ever experienced homelessness, so they're completely unprepared for it.
Dublin is now the most expensive city in the Eurozone to rent a property, and the most recent figures found there were nearly 10,000 homeless people living in emergency accommodation. Prime Minister Leo Varadkar bought his first property at 24, but few Irish people can afford to do so at the same age, and he's been regularly challenged on his record during the campaign.
In 2016, the year before I became Taoiseach, less than 10,000 new houses and apartments were built in this country. We now know that about 21,500 were built last year. So we've already doubled supply of housing, and I can double it again over the next 3 years.
Opinion polls have placed Varadkar's centre-right Fine Gael party in second or even third place, with the left-wing Sinn Féin party looking to win the most first preference votes, something it hasn't done in an Irish election since 1918.
Staying in Europe, French Finance Minister Bruno Le Maire met with the European Commission's new Vice President for Economy, Valdis Dombrovskis, in Paris. They discussed challenges to the European Union stemming from the spread of a coronavirus, post-Brexit trade negotiations and the rollout of 5G networks, as well as the creation of taxes on US tech giants that France is pushing for.
There will be international taxation on digital giants in 2020. And if this cannot be solved at the OECD, there will be solutions on a national level. But European solutions must also be relaunched. And we are in agreement with Valdis Dombrovskis on the need, if there are no solutions at the OECD, to relaunch the works at the European level.
The CEO of Credit Suisse, Tidjane Thiam, has been forced to step down following a spying scandal that hit the reputation of Switzerland's second largest bank. The issue first surfaced last September when a former top wealth manager at the bank said he was trailed by a private detective after agreeing to join rival lender UBS. Subsequent revelations that the bank's then chief operating officer had spied on a second executive as well as on environmental groups opposed to the bank's petroleum investments led to a bitter boardroom battle between the CEO and the chairman. Credit Suisse says, though, that neither Thiam nor the board knew about the espionage. The French Ivorian banker will be replaced by Thomas Gottstein next week.
This is a big task. I have great respect for this task, but I'm also very pleased because I have a very good team. Many colleagues from the Credit Suisse management team. We've been working together for a very long time.
Let's check in on some trading action on the last trading day of the week. And Wall Street has pulled back from record high levels despite a surprisingly strong US jobs report released today. The Dow is down almost 1%, as you can see there, and the S&P and the Nasdaq both down by about 0.5%. Uber shares, though, jumped more than 9% after the ride-hailing company moved forward its target to achieve profitability by a full year. Major European markets closed the week in the red, with London's FTSE down 0.5% due in part to a rise in the British pound. But shares in French carmaker Renault fell almost 3% after it said it would suspend production at its South Korean plant due to supply shortages caused by the coronavirus outbreak. Some more of the day's business headlines for you now. And as the economic impact of the coronavirus widens, Swedish tech firm Ericsson and South Korea's LG have decided to pull out of the Mobile World Congress in Barcelona later this month to avoid any risk of contamination. Ericsson is one of the main global suppliers of the next generation or 5G mobile networks. Its rival, China's Huawei, has said it will attend the event. As surgical masks fly off the shelves in Asia because of the coronavirus, Foxconn, a major Apple supplier in Taiwan that makes iPhones, is switching part of its production to making those. The company says it has started trial production at its Chinese plant in Shenzhen and expects to make 2 million masks daily by the end of the month. Meanwhile, Apple has agreed to pay 25 million euros in fines to French authorities for failing to tell iPhone users that software updates could slow down older devices. Critics had accused the firm of secretly trying to force people to buy new phones. French prosecutors opened an inquiry in early 2018 at the request of a consumer protection group. And finally, for business, how would you like to have your favorite cocktail concocted by a smiling robot? Customers at a pub in Tokyo is getting their first taste where Japan's first robot bartender has begun serving up drinks. It's touted as a possible answer to the country's growing labour shortages, but could also usher in a wave of automation in restaurants and shops. Lauren Bestecker has the story.
Dry or on the rocks, stirred or shaken, the newest staff member in this Tokyo pub can do it all with a smile. This robot bartender uses cameras and AI software to monitor customers' facial expressions to find out if they want to chat or be left alone.
Dealing with people can be a hassle. With this, you can just come here, get drunk, and go home.
With more than a quarter of its population over 65 years old, Japan is facing a major demographics challenge and will need hundreds of thousands more workers over the next few years. Many sectors like healthcare and security are increasingly turning to robots to bridge this gap. Priced at just over $82,000, this mechanical bartender costs as much as employing a human for 3 years, an incentive for its owner to keep it after its trial period ends in 2 months' time.
There is a labor shortage problem in the restaurant sector. We installed this to solve this issue. In addition, we are hoping to create a system where humans and robots can work together.
In 2015, Japanese authorities announced a $100 million investment in robot technology. And while the country isn't yet ready for a full-on mechanical revolution, it plans to use the upcoming Tokyo Olympics to showcase the applications of robotics in the service industry.
Well, I must admit, I agree with the guy. I'm incredibly shy, and having a robot bartender might lower the bar a little bit for going to the pub alone.
I'd be delighted if a robot made me a cocktail on a Friday night, especially after a busy shift like this one, Yuka.
We should have one here.
Good idea. I think we should convince the bosses to get us one. Thanks very much for our roundup of the business. We're going to take a short break here on Live from Paris. We'll be back with plenty more world headlines for you on the other side. We do hope you'll join us then.